everybody, to another exciting episode of Multiplayer, the podcast by gamers for gamers. I am your host, Zach Matscanis, alongside the lover boy himself, Javier Ortiz.
What up, dude?
Yo, what's crack-a-lackin'?
I got my second shot today. I'm basically invincible now, so I'm feeling good.
You could just go and get coughs straight to the mouth, and you're fine.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to just walk up to people and be like, breathe on my face. Or, better yet, sneeze or cough on me. I feel better already.
Just spit in my mouth.
I'm invincible.
You probably won't be saying that tomorrow when you get the chills like I did.
Yeah.
I was like...
Hopefully tomorrow I'm okay. We'll see.
It was like part of the reason we didn't record last week. So sorry, everybody, for that, that we missed that. I was like incapacitated last week. I literally, I don't know what it was, but even before I got my shot, I was suffering from like migraines and like stomach pains at the same time. And I was like, I don't know what's happening to my body. And then I had to go get my second shot. And then I got a crazy fever. And I was just like, I don't know, I'm dying.
You just like comatose for a few days.
Oh, yeah, dude, it was so bad. So, yeah, apologies for missing last week. It was actually, we were on a streak there for a while, and I felt so bad that I had to cancel. I love doing the show and talking video games, but,
hey,
man,
don't love it that much, I guess.
I guess not, because I loved laying in a comatose state for hours on end, a little more. It was wild. It's a wild time, but I'm back. I'm healthy, and I guess I'm invincible now.
Yeah,
and that's how it works.
You can also get people to just breathe on you all the time. It's totally cool. By the way, This is a video game show. Please do not take medical advice from anything we say or do.
Oh yeah, definitely not. We're like, especially us, we're a bunch of idiots, man. Like,
yeah, pretty much. Please don't let people breathe on you. Don't do that.
Yeah, definitely don't do that. You know, treat your body with respect.
Yeah.
Don't let people spit on you.
Yeah, or cough, or anything like that.
Any of that stuff. But remember, everybody, don't take medical advice. But remember that we are all over the place, in your ears and in your face, but not in a way that we're spitting on you. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/multiplayer, where you can see our ugly mugs every single week that we are alive and well and recording stuff.
Yeah.
Every Wednesday, those episodes post. And they also post to podcast services of your choice. So, you know, whatever you're feeling, you know, just take all the names of all the different services, throw them in a hat, shake them up, pick one out, be like, oh, baby, Spotify? Okay, I'm going to go look for Multiplayer. And then, bam, we're there. So check that out.
I personally use
By the way,
Google
Spotify...
Podcasts.
Ew.
It's a pretty good service. I like it.
No, I'm just kidding. No, they're fine. do you think there's still an app on the Xbox phones, on the the Microsoft phone?
I don't know.
For podcasts. I don't know if we're on that. If you've got a Microsoft phone from 2012 or whatever,
I think it was
go ahead and check.
First off, why?
What you got that in your I was trying to think of the Zune.
The Zune,
you got that in your Zune still. You're just like, I have this one I'm rocking.
Hey man,
come on, Microsoft.
That's how you feel. That's fine, I guess. I would just say download the episodes off your computer and then put it on your Zune.
Oh yeah, and then you can also follow us over at Patreon at patreon.com/multiplayer, where if you enjoy what we do each and every week, throw us a buck or two, and we'll love you forever. It just helps to keep the lights on over here and help us do what we love doing, which is talking about video games.
I already love you guys forever, so that's
Yeah, I'm a harder sell. I'm a hard man to love. So, and to give love. So if you want my love, you gotta make it rain, baby.
/multiplayer.
Where I will do anything for $1.
It's also Zach's OnlyFans account.
It's all combined. And then we're over at on the gram as well at Go Multiplayer. So with all that out of the way, Hav, I think we have a pretty good show.
Yeah, let's go.
We're talking about games we're playing, and we're going to be talking about the Apple and Epic Games lawsuit that's going on, but a little less about the actual lawsuit, and just more about the crazy nonsense that's coming out of
Oh yeah.
that lawsuit. So, you know, all the documents just flying around from different companies, and it's like, I mean, it's just some weird stuff.
Yeah.
And you know me, I love talking about like internal business, you know, practices, and just strange things that come out of these like giant video game companies.
Sure.
It's always like fascinating stuff.
It's really interesting to, you know, whenever you get a look at the behind closed doors kind of perspective, it's super interesting because like you're getting to read and learn about like what these people talk about on the inside that isn't released to the general public, you know. And I find that yeah, it's super interesting to talk about that kind of stuff and to be like, whoa, Microsoft really liked The Last of Us 2. Like that's pretty interesting.
Definitely. So we'll get to all that in a little bit, because there's a lot of meat on that bone we can sort of chew on for a little bit. So before we get to that, I want to kind of get into what we've been playing. It's been a while since we've kind of checked in with each other about that.
Yeah.
And you know, I know you've been playing a little Castlevania, right?
So here's the deal. I love my PS5. Thank you, by the way. I absolutely adore it, and I got you, baby. I'm so excited about the new games and the graphic updates and like what the PS5 can do. That being said, I've been playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night, a game that came out in 1997 on my PS5. Basically, it was last week. I was just looking on the PSN store. Just I like to check in like every week just to see like what's on sale or what's available. And I bought 4 games in total, and there was a Castlevania bundle that had Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood. 2 games I never played before, but I've always wanted to because I've always heard they're really good. I also bought the Mega Man like bundle collection, which came with all the Mega Man Legacy collections and then the Mega Man X collections. So
which is rad. Yeah, what a crazy bundle to pick up.
Yeah, and it was like $40, and you just got like
40 games.
like every Mega Man game ever, and it's awesome. So I'm really excited to go in, and I'm finally going to play Mega Man 11, which I started before. It was okay, but I'll get to it now eventually. And then I also saw Lego Hobbit for $5, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get me a Lego game. It's been a long time.
Lego Hobbit?
Yeah, I was like, I like the Hobbit. I like the Lord of the Rings series. I like the Hobbit, like not the movie, like just the actual story, the Hobbit. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
And so I got that at Lego Hobbit game. I was playing that for a few minutes. It's super fun. I forgot how much fun Lego games are.
Yeah, they're pretty silly.
But I've been playing this past week. I did a deep dive into Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And man, dude, it's so good. Like I know I'm like 20 years late on this. It is excellent.
Hey, that's okay. You know, sometimes you know, backlogs are crazy.
That's true.
Like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like there's certain series that, you know, and Castlevania is a perfect example for me too, where it's like I've played some Castlevanias, but I definitely haven't like really dive very deep into that franchise. That's definitely one I've missed a lot of games, and it's been on my backlog for 30 years basically.
yeah, pretty much. Like I played like the original, and then I played the Super Castlevania on Super Nintendo. Both are great. I love them, and I played a little bit of Castlevania 3, I think it was. But they're great, and so I finally got to this one because everyone, you know, a lot of people usually say that that's the best Castlevania game ever made, and very good reason why. Like playing through it, and I'm glad I'm playing through it now, because playing through it now with the knowledge of Metroidvania gameplay, and like dungeon crawling and stuff, it's really interesting to look back at a game like Symphony of the Night, playing through it and being like, wow, I've totally seen this aspect in other games. Like even the look of it, it looks like, you know, a game like Rogue Legacy, which is an indie game, but it's a great game. And there's so much of it based off of Symphony of the Night, and a lot of it looks like it too, like straight up out of like this board in this stage looks just like something out of Symphony of the Night. But it is just a mastery of like an RPG. You know, it's obviously Metroidvania style because it's a Castlevania game, but like, just being able to travel throughout Dracula's castle, setting up warp points to do fast travel throughout the castle, the inventory system, the level up system, it's great. And the thing I love about it, and this is an aspect I love about just games in general, I love when games have extensive item lists, right? I love the ability to choose like your loadout kind of thing, because you can get different like armors and capes that Alucard can wear. You have different types of items that can make the game harder or easier depending on what you use. And it's really interesting. Like some items are really strong, but they take longer to swing, and so your timing has to be perfect. And then some items are weaker, but like it's way faster. Like a knife is way faster to swing than a giant sword. So that aspect of gameplay is so great, and like the abilities that you get in the game to interact with the world and certain enemies is fantastic. Like there's an ability that you get, and what I love about it is that it's the type of game that gives you just enough information to think you know what you need to do without literally telling you this is how this weapon works or this is how this item works, exactly how to use it. Now you know what to do in the future. It's like there's a magic spell in the game. I think it's called Dark Metamorphosis. But basically, if you use it, the description says like regain health through blood or something. It's something vague like that. And I thought, like, what does that mean? And then I noticed that as certain specific enemies that you fight, when you kill them, blood gushes out. So if you have that spell turned on and you kill this enemy and their blood gushes out and touches you, you regain health because their blood is it's like you're healing through their blood. But it only works on specific enemies because not all enemies bleed. And so like discovering that, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like it just, it's kind of like you're just playing with it until you figure it out, which I love about old school games. And I think new games, especially big AAA titles, I think they spoon feed us too much nowadays.
Sure.
And depending on the game, it can be appropriate. But that's an aspect of gaming I've always loved, is figuring out this concept on your own, and like the game telling you just vague enough what this does. Heal through blood. Okay, what does that mean? Like, where do I encounter blood in this game? Oh, it's when I kill this type of enemy. And then it turns out it's like it's stuff like that I love, where it's that's why I love, like, and I always say it, but like that's why I love Mega Man X. Like that intro stage kind of teaches you the entire game, and like you figure it out on your own through context clues, and like I love that aspect, and that's something I miss about like old games, and like indie games still do it, but like that old school aspect of like I love the game not spoon feeding me, where I have to figure it out, and like teaching me just enough to adapt and to figure things out as I progress, and like the game changes, and like Alucard can turn to different animals like a wolf or a bat, and so it's like, man, that area I can't reach, but now I'm a bat and I can fly and I can get up there. Or like before that, like this jump is too far, and Alucard can't make that jump, but as a wolf he can. Like it's so it's like I love that the Metroidvania of going back to discover new items or new locations and like fully exploring. It's just great, man. It's like I could talk about it all day, but man, Symphony of the Night. Kudos, Konami. Thank you so much for making that. I hate you for not making more Castlevania games nowadays. It's such a shame. I think like their most recent games are like slot machines. But man, I like playing through it now. I'm like, man, dude, I want more of that. Like, and obviously there's a bunch of indie games that have been inspired through Castlevania. So I might do more deep dives into Metroidvania indie games after this one, because it's just excellent, dude. It's excellent gameplay. It looks great. It plays great. It's just a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. It's great.
Yeah, that's the kind of the great thing about being a gamer, nowadays, where it's like if you like that kind of game, like there were people, there were gamers that played that game 20 years ago, and it's like that's what I want to make for a living. And now those people are those kids are developers, and they're developing those types of games just under a different franchise or whatever.
Yeah, different name, but like same gameplay. It's fantastic. It really is.
Yeah. I guess you'll have to try out the Castlevania like game from like basically the same the original Castlevania devs.
Is that like Curse of the Moon? Or yeah, I played the first one, where it looks just like the NES Castlevania, where it's like 8-bit
Yeah.
style. I played that one. It was really great. I loved it.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. So it's always great to kind of see those games sort of continue in their own ways. Kind of under a different name.
Yeah.
But they're out there.
Yeah, like those spiritual successors. Like
yeah, exactly.
And it's so, again, like playing throughout Symphony of the Night, like the aspects of seeing what inspired specific games today, like it's so obvious. And it's like that's why I love that I played it now. That retrospective look is like, oh my god, this is where they got this idea from. Like it's beautiful. Yeah. It's perfect. Yeah, it's great.
It's also it's you got like a classic game in your hands where it's like even 20 years after that game comes out, you can play it and it still like holds up and is incredible.
Yeah, dude. It's a lot of those old school games, man, that you've got a banger when it's still, to this day, it can go toe to toe with games today. That's how good it is.
Yeah. So I'll definitely, I'll at some point I'll check it out.
Yeah, the bundle.
It's been on the list.
That bundle was only $8. That's why I got it. I was like, you know what, $8 for two of these games that everybody seems to love. Let me just get it. It's about time I play it.
That's a good deal.
Yeah.
I my Castlevania games I've played like all the worst Castlevania games, like basically the ones that like everybody's like don't play that game, but like
Lord of Shadows.
So when I was a kid, I played Castlevania 2, Simon's Curse, and Castlevania 64. Those are like my two Castlevania games. It's just, and Castlevania 64 is bad. Oh, yeah. That is a bad game. I played
Super Castlevania
the crap out of it.
It's on the Switch for free. It's part of the library.
I know. It's on the list.
Play the good ones.
I don't know if it could hold up to Castlevania 64. Oh man. And I heard, oh gosh, I can't remember now. I heard that there was a newer Castlevania 64. It came out like a year later with like additional content in it as well. And
really?
I'm trying to, man, I read it not too long ago and it's escaping my mind now. I wish I could remember, but man, what a bad game. But anyways, but yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying that. I promise I will play those games eventually.
Please do,
it's on the list.
Do it.
So I wanted to chat a bit about my experience with Returnal.
Yeah,
that's what I've been playing.
That's lately. On my list.
And man, is that game rad. What a just awesome game. So this game, for people that don't really know too much about it, it's basically it's made by Housemarque, who they made like Resogun and oh shoot, what's that game called now with the zombies? Dead Nation.
Zombie game.
Which I love. Dead Nation. That game was rad. And they do a lot of bullet hell games, which for people that don't really know that genre, that's just like, I mean, bullets. I mean, there's just everything in the world is trying to kill you at once. So it's like in Dead Nation, I mean, there's just hordes of zombies all constantly surrounding you. In games like Resogun, there's just bullets everywhere.
Yep.
You're basically trying to dodge in a ship. And this game, it's like there's these crazy aliens everywhere just shooting bullets upon bullets upon bullets and lasers at you. And you're trying to like dodge all of this in real, in a third person game. And so basically it's like a bullet hell mixed with a roguelike. And, if you know me, I'm not a big roguelike guy. I'm not into the, this constant pattern of dying and coming back a little bit stronger. And then, the part that kind of gets me the most with roguelikes is the I'm missing all my words today. I don't know why. It's been 2 weeks. I'm off my game now. Procedurally generated was the word I was looking for there. I don't like a lot of procedurally generated worlds because it doesn't have that like artist touch to it, you know? It's a lot of just, you know, items are just scattered about by computers, worlds are built by computers, and it's not like intentionally put in certain places for you to find. So I'm not a big fan of that kind of stuff, you know, and roguelikes in general, like things like Spelunky. I hate Spelunky.
Wow.
I tried it, do not like it at all. Everybody else loves that.
Yeah, it's
that
a very popular
series.
game.
I hate that game.
That's fair.
I don't like the art style. I don't like the way you move. It's gross, but that's besides the point. So, so this game, I just did not know if I was gonna like it going in. Like the story looked kind of interesting. You know, you're landing on this like alien planet, and you don't really know why you're there, but you keep on dying.
Yeah.
You just keep dying, and basically, as you explore this world, you find your own body dead on the ground with like audio logs, and you're basically learning the story through finding audio logs that you've recorded in previous lives. And
like Groundhog Day.
Yeah, it's Groundhog Day mixed with like a
Alien.
Metroid. Yeah. So I mean, it's a super cool game, and you know, as far as like this alien world goes, and you know, your exploration, because you're reading like you know, ancient alien you know, scriptures and stuff like that, just, you know, things on the wall, but you can't decipher it, so you have to find like, you know, codes to kind of decipher different chunks of you know, scripture that you're finding, stuff like that. And so you're like deciphering things, you're finding audio logs, you're basically trying to figure out what the heck happened to this world, because it seems like there was a very intelligent life here, and the world just collapsed. And you know, it looks like war happened. It looks like just every bad thing that could have happened on this planet happened. And what's left on this planet, these aliens are just basically trying to kill your ass. They do not want you there. And so, you know, it straight up feels in a lot of ways like a Metroid game. In a lot of ways, it feels like a Metroid game.
If this game was called Metroid Returnal, would you be even happier?
Yeah, no, because I think Metroid's still a little different, especially in the way in the whole bullet hell you know, style of game. It's like kind of arcadey in the way your character moves and jumps around and shoots at stuff. But you're like constantly picking up new weapons and
it's fun.
You know, ways to like upgrade your armor and stuff. And basically every time you die, you literally lose everything, and you basically have to start from scratch again, which is kind of different from other roguelikes where it's like you're slowly getting stronger every time. This game, like, it's like, nah, dog, you got nothing.
You level
up? Sort of. So it's like your weapons level up as you use them. You'll like basically you'll find stronger weapons as you go, and as you go you're picking up these like health packs that the more you pick up, the more health you have, essentially.
Right.
So it's just as you go along, it's like things are upgrading. But yeah, if you die, like that's it. You got to basically start over from scratch again. You got this little dinky gun again. You lose all your like perks you have.
That's rough.
You know, it's a hard game. It's like it even says it right before you start playing the game. It's just like, yo, this game is intended to be hard. You're gonna die a lot.
Don't cry.
Yeah, like get good or go home is basically what it says. And yeah, this game like doesn't throw punches. It's like not messing around. It's like, man, you'll get into fights that are just so insane.
That kind of makes me feel about another game you should play, Bloodborne. You know, Bloodborne's like that, where it's just that unforgiving but fair. It's like you totally accept that you died. You're just like, all right, that was my fault. I get it. I'm still upset, but I'm not going to stop playing. You know?
Yeah. Though, I don't know if Bloodborne's like this, which I swear I'll play one day. It's on the list.
It's such a good game.
But like, you could be 4 hours like into a run in Returnal and die, and you basically start over again. It's just like,
wait, there's no way you can't like. Are there like checkpoints?
No.
Man, that is rough.
It's so there is like.
So you're telling me you have to beat the game in one run?
Kind of, sort of. So it's basically the more you play and the more you die, the more you kind of learn about the story and stuff.
Right.
And you do pick up that there are some like perks that do carry over from run to run, but they're very few and far between. And you also will start to unlock, because as far as I'm aware, there's like 5 of these like biomes in the game, which are like the different, sections of the world that you can eventually reach. And, each one basically has like harder and harder enemies. And so it's like, as you get through these biomes and beat like kind of the bosses of these biomes, like those worlds semi open up permanently, where it's just like you'll kind of start in that first biome again where your plane has crashed, and you can kind of more quickly get to those other biomes. But the enemies are just as hard, so it's like, if you want to go back to, like, I skipped from biome 1 to biome 3 and was like immediately murdered to death. I mean, they've just beat me down so hard. That's like, Jesus, I should not have gone here, but I wanted to try, because it's like, as soon as I got into that biome, I picked up like a crazy powerful weapon, but like my what's called like your integrity, which is like kind of your health, I didn't have enough health, so I just got smacked like 3 times. I was basically dead. But this game also like frowns upon you getting hit. Like, if you get hit once in this game, you lose so much.
I like that.
Like,
I like that.
it's basically, you have these like overload levels where it's like the more you kill, the more like powerful you kind of become, until you're at like level 5. And then that's basically where you want to sit the whole game if you can. But
Right.
You're probably going to get hit. And when you get hit, you lose all of that power. And then, you basically are, a little jabroni again.
It's like Mario.
So it's like do not get hit in that game.
yeah. I mean, that's Mario. Don't get hit. Like, you won't like it.
And basically, the way to like build your health bar, build your integrity in that game is like, you can't be hit, and you have to pick up health packs. Or these like integrity packs, right, so that like your health bar grows bigger and bigger. So if you're getting hit by stuff, you're never gonna get stronger. It's like, what? It's my god, the game is. Yeah,
but I like the idea of like, I love it when games tell you like, you need to master movement, because if you can't move, you will die, and it hurt a lot.
Yeah, so when I first started going through the game, I was kind of like, I was trying to hide behind things and sort of cheese a little bit, because it's like, I was like, man, there's a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough game, but I finally like embraced what they wanted me to do, and now I'm running around, I'm dashing. You get this like crazy beam sword. It's a great dash in this game. You get this crazy beam sword. It's in a top 10 dash, I think. But yeah, you got this dope beam sword like Zero from Mega Man X,
Nice.
And so it's like you could just like dash towards something, hack it in half, or it'll explode or whatever. It's just I mean, and the weapons you pick up are insane and brutal. I mean, and literally everything is trying to kill you, and just there's bullets flying everywhere, and you're just
Dashing,
I mean, you're dashing, you're basically doing the limbo, trying to not get hit by stuff, and also trying to just shoot at things. And
nice.
Man, the boss fights are incredible. I mean, they're so good. Like, it's almost like a trance you're put in. It's like it feels like you're playing like Guitar Hero or something,
right?
But also trying to kill something, because there's like all this stuff flying at you, so you're like dodging and dodging and dodging,
sure,
while also trying to like fight this crazy boss. And the music is like beautiful and like weird and funky, and it's just like, man, you get in the zone. And also, like, you can't die in this game. If you die in this game, you're basically set back to the beginning. So it's like, you're gripping that controller tight, and you're just like, I got this, man. I got this. And man, when I beat like that second boss, I was like on just such a great run. I had these like dope perks.
Nice.
And then I got into that third biome and just like got crushed. But I mean, it was yeah, pretty much. I died by something stupid and got reset to beginning, and it sucked. But I'm loving exploring the world, even with like the world kind of resets and changes every time you die. But what I feel like they did is they handcrafted a lot of set pieces, and then basically created an algorithm to move those set pieces around in interesting ways that makes sense and works with the world and works with like the gameplay. And it looks beautiful.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, in all the biomes, they look a little different. I think biome 2 is like stunning. You're in this desert, and it's like, I mean, it's so beautiful, and the enemies are crazy. I mean, it's such an interesting game. It feels like Metroid mixed with like a bit of like the 3D Zelda games. Because you're basically like, you're finding like little hidden hidden rooms. You're finding like treasure chests and stuff. You eventually get a hook shot.
Ooh, nice.
And it's a great hook shot too.
Love
good dash, great hook shot.
I see that, man. You're speaking my language. I love that kind of stuff.
So you're like hook shotting around, dodging enemies, like unloading like barrages of like rockets at them and stuff.
That's awesome.
I mean, the music's just like, you got to play this with headphones, and the music's just blaring, just this like funky sci-fi craziness. And then like the haptic feedback is amazing in this game. You can like just hear and feel the rain like hitting your controller.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and there's like the way the triggers feel when you're shooting is great, because it's like L2. If you hold it halfway, you basically you'll aim aim your gun, and if you do a full push, it does like an alt fire kind of thing.
Nice.
And it just the feeling of the haptic triggers are great. I mean, it's just cool. I love what they did with the PS5 and the PS5 controller. The 3D audio in the game is fantastic. It's like such a great use of like the PS5's hardware and what it can do.
I'm really excited about that aspect, because this is like the first real PS5 game, right? Like, I know Demon Souls, or is it Demon?
Yeah,
Demon Souls.
Yeah,
but that's like a remake. This is like the first like true blue PS5 exclusive, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's also, there was Astro's Playroom,
which
was
like that's true.
Yeah, which is, kind of a free game that came with the console, and is a great use of like the hardware and the controller. But this is like kind of the first real AAA game we've kind of gotten, and I think it's great. I think it's a beautiful looking game.
Nice.
Other games are going to come out and it's going to look even better.
Oh yeah,
like God of War and all those.
Well, that's the exciting thing, like, because I've seen like the demo of Returnal, and it looks fantastic. And this is just like now, so it makes me wonder, like, wow, 3 years from now, what's gonna be on the PS5? Like, what's gonna really take advantage of the technology that we have in here?
Yeah.
What's gonna push it to its limit? I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and the game is like so fluid too, with all the stuff happening on screen at once, and like some of these enemies are, I mean, so massive, and like so many things, like bullets and things exploding, and all this stuff happening on the screen at once. It's like kind of crazy that it does that seamlessly. There's like no chugging in that game.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty rad. Oh my God!
Sorry.
Man down!
Sorry about that. I hit a wire.
You got so excited you like karate chopped your mic.
Yeah, that's what happens when I get overexcited. I just karate chop things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
All right, I'm gonna have to mute that in the edit. Let's see. That's 34 2.5 minutes in.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Hav
Loose
karate
wire
chopped
that
his
I
mic.
karate chopped by accident.
Like Returnal, yes!
Yes!
But yeah, just like Castlevania, I could speak about Returnal all day. I'd say the biggest takeaway is like every time I stop playing, I immediately want to start playing again.
Nice.
It's one of those games where it's like you're hooked. I'm hooked. I wanna go and play it again. I almost have that Tetris effect where it's like if I play for a while and I get up and I'm doing other things, I just see bullets just coming at me.
You're just dashing in real life.
Yeah, I just I want to continue through that game and see like the mysteries that unfold because it's pretty crazy. And you get into like the main character's backstory and there's some weird stuff going on in that game, and I'm trying to piece it together and figure out what the heck the story is really gonna like. I feel like there's gonna be a crazy twist at the end, and I just don't know what it's gonna be. But
that's cool, man.
It's great, and props to Housemarque, who has basically just made like small indie like arcade shooters before this, and this is like their first big AAA take on a bullet hell game, and I mean I think they crushed it.
Nice. That's awesome. I mean,
it's really good. I mean, I would easily give this game an 8, maybe even a 9 from what I've played.
Yeah,
so
I mean the
far.
reviews have been favorable, so it's a great first impression, I guess, for a PS5 exclusive.
Yeah, I hope it sells well, because this is why the reason they made this game is because their other games just never sold well.
Right.
And they've been on the record saying that. Housemarque's like, look, we can't make these arcadey bullet hell games anymore because people don't buy them. It's like, you can cry and complain, but like you didn't buy the game, so
right. Yeah.
so they had to try and take a crack at like a AAA game, but in the flavor that they like to develop. And I think they found a great middle ground with like a AAA third-person shooter, kind of semi-narrative game. It's got, like I said, it's got like really good story beats, and I'm intrigued by what's going on, but also the bullet hell stuff that they're good at, it's definitely here, man.
Nice.
And it'll kick your booty.
That's awesome. I'm excited. That's my my next, like the next 2 games for PS5 I'm gonna buy are Returnal and Resident Evil Village. So I'm excited. I can't wait to try both those games.
Yeah, man. Cool. So let's jump over and talk a little Apple versus Epic.
Oh man.
Which
it's like King Kong versus Godzilla.
Like, that kind of sounds like an indie game. Apple versus Epic.
Yeah,
like, so I don't know what that would be about, but I don't know. Apples, and
it's just you're playing a tiny apple and you have to fight something big.
Epic monsters. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, so I don't want to get too much into the nitty gritty of
you don't want to talk about lawyer things and laws and legal discrepancies, other fancy words.
I'm already falling asleep with you just saying those things. But I'm gonna read something from the website Windows Central. It basically gives you like an overall on what this court case is about. So Epic openly defied. Oh, excuse me. So the origin of this trial was simple enough. The Epic openly defied Apple's App Store rules by allowing Fortnite in-app purchases to occur without being filtered through Apple first. Apple then kicked Fortnite off its App Store for violating its policies. In response, Epic slammed Apple with a giant lawsuit alleging Apple runs an illegal app monopoly, and not the app for the game Monopoly, just an app monopoly. So yeah, basically, long story short, Fortnite was on the Apple Store, the App Store, and Epic didn't like how much money Apple was making off of their game, because essentially with all games on the Apple Store, whatever Google has, their Google App Store, is that just called the Google Store?
Google Play Store.
So the Google Play Store,
Google App, whatever,
or
the Google Store.
Nintendo's online store or PlayStation's or Xbox, they all have one. Same thing. Epic Games. Epic Games has a store.
Yep.
Steam. All these stores. Basically, when you sell a game, if I'm a developer and I put my game Apple vs. Epic the game onto the App Store for $10, doesn't matter who that service is, that store is, they're going to take a cut.
Sure.
So if that's the Apple Store or Steam or whatever, Nintendo's eShop, they take what is pretty typical is like a 30% cut. So it's like if you sell a $10 game, they're going to take $3. Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that also is for DLC and, in-app purchases. So it's like if I have my video game Apple vs. Epic, the game, and it's like for 10, bucks, I can get 10 loot boxes and get more apples. Okay, I'll buy this like $10 in-app purchase.
Right.
And I'm going to do it on, Steam. It's like now Steam gets 30% of that $10 as well for that in-app purchase. So they made $3 off the initial purchase of the game, and then they made $3 off like an in-app purchase. And that's how those storefronts make money. Well, Epic doesn't like that, despite the fact that they have a store, the Epic Game Store, where they make a commission off of games. They don't like that Apple makes a commission off of Fortnite.
It's odd because, and I don't understand the mindset. Like I'm not a business person. I don't understand it. I don't understand the logic of it. It's very complicated. I've not gone to school for business, but
once again, we're a bunch of idiots over here.
Yeah. I like games. But what's interesting is there was one little factoid that came out, and this was from Fortnite's or Epic's internal revenue reports, and it said that the PS4 was the most lucrative. Like they got the most revenue from the PS4 at 47% of their revenue came from PS4 service, right?
Yep.
But the one that's dead last is iOS devices at 7% is what it says here. So it's like, I don't understand, like, what's the point of going around Apple if it's maybe it's because it's the least, you get the least revenue from that service. You're trying to get as much as you can. But I just don't get, like, why, what's the point of doing this if that's your least popular platform in terms of money?
It's kind of weird. It's also like I said, all these different storefronts, they take a commission on, on everything. It's really no different. Epic is alleging that Apple makes like their cut is like 70%, but Apple's like, no, we definitely don't take 70% commission. But there's not a document
right.
that they've shown in court that says otherwise as of yet. So like, who knows? I mean, it's one of those things where like, I guess Epic's just like, we want more money from Fortnite, even though they have a 2019 and 2020, they had a revenue of $5 billion with Fortnite. And they're like, we need more money.
Really? I thought it was $9 billion.
9 billion is like what they made, but I think like basically their gross. Well, that was their gross, but then like the actual revenue,
that's still a lot.
Was like 5 billion, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
So like I said, I don't want to get too much into like the nitty gritty of it all, but I just,
you don't want to represent Apple and I represent Epic, and we debate about laws and money.
We'll save that for like high school, debate teams. I'd rather talk about like the nonsense, like fun things that came out of this case. Because basically these two companies are so big and so giant that it just, they're like planets, and they just suck in, this gravitational pull of this court case is like pulled in all these other companies like Microsoft and Nintendo and PlayStation, and Valve has been like fighting, trying to stay out of it.
We're neutral.
Well, they're trying to be,
and
but because of all these other companies getting sucked in, all these like documents from these companies are going public. And it's one of those things where it's like I just love the internal workings of these big video game companies, because most of them are so secretive.
For sure.
They don't talk too much about what they're working on, or what they did work on, or like how they feel about other companies and what they're doing. It's even things like movies in the movie industry are way more open about, like, oh yeah, we're gonna hire this guy, and oh that didn't work out, we thought he was racist, we're gonna hire this guy instead. And they're like way more open, but you're never gonna hear that stuff from like PlayStation and Nintendo, especially those two in particular.
Dude,
being
Nintendo
like,
is the kind of company where they don't tell you anything until like 2 months before a game comes out. And they're like, oh, by the way, this is coming out. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Where did this come from?
But and even when you hear that, like, you'll never hear the stories of like the internal workings of like why that game was developed, how did they feel about the competition at the time, and like how it might compare to the game that they're developing. You're never going to hear stuff like that. So it's interesting to get a peek behind the curtain into some of this stuff. So I have a few links here with like some fun things, but I figure we just kind of go back and forth. If anything kind of stood out to you as like pretty funny or interesting, we could sort of talk about them.
Sure.
And I'll just start with a silly one if you need a second to look. But this one I thought was pretty interesting. So in Fortnite, obviously, there's like so many characters now. It's like ridiculous. There's like Batman and Wolverine and
Thanos.
Thanos. Yeah. I mean, everybody.
I think Mandalorian is in there too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of crazy. And so basically, there was a document that basically has confirmed, Fortnite and Epic are basically working on getting additional characters into the game, like Samus Aran, which is pretty crazy. That would be like the first Nintendo character, and that would be a pretty cool one. But then there's also, this almost reads like when people shout out the most nonsense answers for like who should be the next Smash character. It's like Goku. Yeah. It's like, this is what this list reads like, but it's like there's Samus, then there's Naruto, there's LeBron James.
It makes no sense.
The Rock. The Rock would be hilarious. And there's like Snake Plissken, Lady Gaga. It was like Ariana Grande. Like, why would she be a character? Ariana Grande running around, shooting Lady Gaga in the face with like a machine gun.
or they might have the idea of like, let's have a totally in-game concert in the Fortnite world of Ariana Grande or Lady Gaga.
Which, that definitely makes more sense than those being like playable characters.
Yeah.
But
oh no, I still want to play as Lady Gaga.
But yeah, so it's just like these weird characters, there's like Kill Bill characters, there's like John McClane,
some of this is
weird.
Some of this is a little off the rails. Like I can imagine LeBron James doing it. He's the kind of person I would imagine that's like, or even The Rock, like those.
I could definitely see The Rock doing it.
Like these guys are, and now that LeBron James is going to be the next Space Jam movie, like he's expanding his brand to not just like sports. It's like he's gonna try and dive into movies and stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if he dived into gaming with Fortnite. It's a great platform to introduce yourself to that, to that genre. So why not? One thing I found really interesting, and it kind of got my hopes up, was that one of the documents that came out was about Microsoft and like how they view the competition. And like one thing I thought that was really interesting was they were looking at, obviously Microsoft pays attention to whatever Sony releases or whatever Nintendo releases and the dates that they come out. It just makes sense to plan accordingly. And one thing I loved, and I was like, no way, they had Breath of the Wild 2 listed as a possible release for either 2019 or 2020. And so when I saw that, I was like, maybe that means Breath of the Wild 2 is going to come out this year, because they're off by a year or two. So like maybe that means it's gonna come out sooner than we hope. Like this was more of a like I'm less like I was interested in the fact that Microsoft is looking at their competition, but I was more interested in seeing that like maybe Breath of the Wild 2 will come out this year. Like it's because obviously Nintendo, they don't tell you anything about the games they make or release dates or anything until just before they come out. So like seeing like inside documents saying like, oh, we're expecting them for this to come out either this year or this year, so let's plan accordingly. But like if they were wrong about that, maybe that means Breath of the Wild 2 is going to come out this year, and if so, super excited about that.
What's funny is like you would think they would have like a little bit of like an inside scoop as to what's going on in these places. Like maybe they have some some shady some people meeting in a dark parking lot somewhere, like parking garage. Yeah, some like a deep throat character over at Nintendo, right. Handing Phil Spencer like a manila folder filled with like inside scoop info. But it really just seems like these people are guessing over at Microsoft. Like, I feel like I could have put a better list together for Microsoft for like what I thought was coming out the end of 2020. It's I mean what am I trying to say here? So yeah, there's just like weird games on this list that they're like, oh yeah, from 2019 to 2020, we feel like Metroid Prime 4 is going to come out. It's like, dude, have you read the news? Like, they're still looking for like head, like art director and stuff. Like they've barely even begun on that. Like, you're gonna see that in like 10 years, right. Dude. And the same thing like Bayonetta 3, Shin Megami Tensei, and Breath of the Wild 2. Like, none of these things came out. Like, yeah, none of them. It's and I don't think we're close on most of them either. Like, I don't think we're gonna see Bayonetta 3 until probably next year. Same thing with Breath of the Wild 2. I really don't think we'll see until next year.
I hope so.
And
I hope to get it soon.
I just don't think so.
Just like, what's Anuma? I couldn't say his name. The developer. Anuma, yeah.
Yeah.
What else has he been up to for the past like 6 years? Like, he's working on it.
He's perfecting it.
I know, but that's a long time. It should be ready.
Perfection takes a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is really interesting to see like how Microsoft, like they look at the competition pretty closely, and I'm sure Sony does too. And Nintendo's the oddball.
Yeah, I don't know if they do. I don't think they do.
Yeah, it's I feel like they probably see things like the App Store, like the Apple App Store, probably as a bigger competitor than something like
honestly,
Microsoft and Sony. But within that same like document with all those like release dates was something really interesting, which was an internal Microsoft review of The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah, that was super cool.
It's so crazy. It's like we never hear stories like this. So it's like the fact this is just out is amazing. It even says at the bottom of the review, Microsoft Confidential, do not distribute.
Yeah. Imagine working for Microsoft and your job is to play competitor games and write a review for like, I don't know, whoever is in charge, like the people that run things over at Xbox. Like it's so weird to think about. It's like, play the competitions game, give us a report, and that way we can decide accordingly how we can adjust our development style or like what we can do to like improve things that weren't great. Like, it's just weird to think about that kind of stuff. But it makes sense.
And so, it's so funny. So this review kind of like really applauds The Last of Us Part 2, but then also like bashes it for certain things. And I think it's just kind of like funny.
It seems like they loved it, but again, because I this is written not in a typical review way, like this is clearly not this is an IGN review, and here's what we think, and here's that's not what this is. And reading through it, you can tell this is not meant for like media or general public. It's more like notesy and like, here's the good, here's the bad, here's how we could maybe improve things if we did something like this. It's which I think it's really interesting the way it's written, because again, it's like it's in that format of like, this is more of a, this isn't for the people, right? This should not be written for the people. This is written for, I don't want to say businessy, but like strategy kind of thing.
Yeah. So yeah, just to read a little bit from this. It's pretty great. So I'll just kind of start. It's sort of like halfway through this review, but I'm sure you'll get the hang of it. So the gameplay in The Last of Us Part 2 is an expansion and notable improvement upon the previous game, which gave players little freedom of choice in the movement-to-movement gameplay. Most levels in the first game played out like little combat puzzle boxes, which I really, I guess,
not wrong.
I don't know.
Think about a lot of the situations that first one where you were stuck in like an underground place, or you were just stuck in a place and you had to get out with the clickers surrounding you. Where like you had to turn the power on and get out.
Exactly. So where there was a narrow, predetermined right way to finish the mission, which made the effective strategy feel forced upon you. In this new game, the combat areas are significantly larger. The enemy AI greatly improved, and the number of ways you can clear a space or just avoid it altogether are greatly enhanced. This part, this is the funniest part of all this, and absolutely don't agree with this, but that said, Naughty Dog still can't seem to make decent gun combat in any of their games, and this one is no exception. Luckily for them, it fits in with the game's overall theme and pushes the player toward using stealth over head-on.
Yep. I disagree completely. But again, that's the way they do things, right? Like, to them, shooting is like, look, bro, we did Halo years. We know how shooty works, and this ain't
But man, the guns and the bow and all the weapons in The Last of Us feel so brutal.
Oh, yeah.
And it feels so good to shoot. Like, I don't know what they're comparing.
I'm telling you, like Halo. I'm just like, which to me makes some sense because they're completely different games and different styles.
Yeah.
But
yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I mean, again, that's why I'm saying, like, the way this is written, this is not for like general review for public people or for the public to read. Like, right? This is something for internal use only, where it's like, this is how they do it, this is how we do it, and we do this better, or they've done this really well. We can learn from that. That's why you get terms like combat puzzle boxes, right? You're not gonna get that in a regular review. Like, this is they're thinking like, kind of like, I don't want to say outside the box, but they're dumbing it down to be like, this is the essential mechanic, right? You're in a room, you got to get out through a combat that has a puzzle element to it. It's not just shooty. It's
So so it's just like, it's funny how they cast a little bit of shade with that and some of the other things they say about like the inventory system and stuff, and needing a third thumb to switch through, do a quick switch. Even though it just adds to the tension. I don't mind that, whatever. But and then they basically end with like, Last of Us Part 2 is the exceedingly rare video game where what it accomplishes in moving forward the art of narrative storytelling in video games as a medium ultimately outweighs whether or not everyone likes it, or even if everyone has fun playing it. That said, we loved it, had a great time playing it, and find ourselves still thinking about its characters and stories even after finishing the playthrough. So it's just like, even if you don't like or love this game or had fun with it, like, it's in a league of its own. And so it's like, I know Microsoft is looking at this game like, we need to be making games like this.
It's like, it's the way, like, the way I see it from their kind of point of view is like, we respect the hell out of this game, and it looks great, and the narrative is super, it draws you in, and you want to know more about these characters, whether or not you kind of like their decisions. I don't want to say it's irrelevant, but basically is, because you're along for this ride, seeing what's going to happen, right? So like, they're kind of saying like, they are really good at storytelling, and that's something we should incorporate. with our awesome gunplay mechanics because we're so good at making shooty games. Like, you know, it's again, it's the idea of like talking to the bigwigs and being like, this is what they did really well. This is what we do really well. If we can do something like that and borrow it from their gameplay and apply it to ours, we're going to have a hit on our hands. And this is just, this is like their, I don't want to say it's like, if you're pitching something and this is your proof of concept, but it's kind of like that, where it's like, this is the proof in the pudding, why the people like it, sold really well, blah, blah, blah. And here's how we could implement our improvements or what we think of, gameplay mechanics.
Yeah, for sure. So, it's interesting to see how, this sort of shakes out in the future with like, how Microsoft sort of like thinks about, Sony's games that are out and like, how can we make a Last of Us Part 2? It's, their mind's there with things like, maybe not Halo, but, future Gears games,
or just new titles that they have in the works. They have a bunch of developers that they got, so
100%.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe they're looking at someone to be like, you're going to be our Naughty Dog, and I want you to take full control. I want you to show us a really cool narrative, third person adventure, tell us a great story, and then when it comes to the gameplay mechanics, we'll kind of, we'll have our input there, but we want you to run this narrative and tell a great story.
I'm sure that's like, their team doing Perfect Dark. It's like just make Last of Us Part 2 in a Perfect Dark world.
Yeah.
It's what we want. But make the gunplay good, even though I do not
really.
But I do not think, or I do not agree with that at all. But we're running low on time, but was there anything else funny you wanted to kind of talk about from this crazy
I mean, there's a lot. I guess to stay on brand with Nintendo, there was a really funny moment where in Nintendo's contracts it says like they won't do business with anyone associated with the Yakuza, which I thought was hilarious. So it was like, we're part of the mob, we want no part of that. I love that. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
And that's in one of their super redacted contracts that went public because of the trial and everything. It says that they released a 26-page, extremely heavily redacted contract revealing that it bars developers and publishers from having Yakuza affiliations, which I just found that hilarious. Like, I love that.
Yeah. There was also one thing I thought was real funny was in 2015, Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney sent an email to Apple CEO Tim Cook in which he asked Cook to consider separating iOS app store curation from compliance review and app distribution. And then basically Cook forwarded internally along with the question, is this the guy that was at one of our rehearsals? Like he had no idea
who is this guy?
Tim Sweeney even was. He's just like, who is this guy?
Is this guy important? Who is he? Why am I talking to him?
I thought that was pretty funny. And same thing like on Tim Sweeney as well, like through this court case, it sounds like he doesn't own a PS5 and also just like has very little experience with the Switch, because he was basically like trying to do something within the Switch, like in the settings, and like couldn't figure out how to do it. So it's just like silly things like that.
Doesn't know how it works.
Yeah. And then there's other crazy things that kind of came out of this, like the fact that PlayStation charges Epic for cross-platform play, essentially. Like,
I mean, it makes sense. Well, just going back to like PS4, like that's Epic. Like Fortnite makes the most money off PS4, so I'm sure they're trying to make that as lucrative as they can on Sony's side. Like, hey, we're your best people. Like, we do the most business for you, so we'd like a little more.
Exactly. So it's like, even if somebody's like playing Fortnite on both PS4 and let's say Steam, and then they buy something off of Steam, Sony gets a cut.
Yeah, it's nuts, right?
It's like,
it's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then kind of same thing, like they basically, just to get crossplay to happen, they just gave Sony so much. They're like, look, we'll partner with you. We'll extend your Unreal Engine 4, contract. We'll basically champion you. We'll make you look like the hero. out of all this, like the good guy that's like, okay, welcome everybody to crossplay.
Right.
And
yeah, we know Sony
doesn't
like crossplay. They're very tight
they
about
hate
that
it.
stuff.
Yeah, they really. I mean, if you're the biggest, why would you?
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah,
it sucks for consumers, but it's like if you're the biggest, you don't need to give into that
it's
stuff.
kind of like you're the one setting the rules. Everyone's kind of following or trying to catch up.
For sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, there's other things like, Microsoft to this day has never made money on their consoles.
Yeah, how about that?
which it's like it's pretty standard, but typically in the later in the life cycle of a system, when you start to get like the slim models and stuff,
sure,
that's typically when you'll start to make a little bit of money
I feel like it's
off
gonna be
of your consoles.
I feel like it's even going to be tougher now with Game Pass being as prominent as it is.
Yeah, it's just it's they basically just make their money elsewhere and then just eat the cost on consoles. It's interesting to finally get confirmation. Like, yep, they definitely have never made a dime off their consoles.
Yeah, pretty wild.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff, and this trial's still going on, so I'm sure we'll talk about it a bit more and get even crazier documents over the next couple weeks here as things progress. But interesting stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's
not sure how this is going to shake out.
Yeah, and it's just interesting that something this big and how many parties it involves. That's like the coolest aspect of it. It's like everybody is a part of this because everyone's connected to Epic Games in some way, right? Especially through Fortnite, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, man, Fortnite's such a juggernaut now. Yeah. It's just so big that Epic it is making so much money off of it that they're like, you know what? Let's just sue some people.
Let's get more money.
We got money to burn.
Also,
let's just sue some people.
Also, the other crazy thing, Walmart was in the midst of making their own gaming streaming service, like Stadia. It's just like Walmart. Yeah, that's
like who wants that?
Yeah,
I don't want to go to Walmart, let alone like try and download a cloud service from Walmart.
That's crazy, man. Well, I think technically, Walmart has a streaming service. If I'm not mistaken, oh man, I don't remember what it's called. I'm looking at it real quick, but I'm pretty sure they have like a Netflixy, definitely less known.
I think they do have some sort of streaming thing for like movies or something.
Yeah, is it Vudu? Vudu might be owned by Walmart, or I don't know if they're still.
Really?
I don't remember, dude. It's been a while. I know I saw it before. I just don't remember. So,
we're on Vudu. So, we our podcast is on there.
Really?
Yeah. Does Walmart own our podcast?
No.
All right. Well, while you're looking that up, I'll start to close the show because we're out of time. Man, we got to get to some You Nintendo Don't Know Jack one of these days.
Yeah,
but maybe next week, and maybe next week I'll start remembering words again. My brain's been dumb today. I missed 1 week and now I'm mush. I'm just recovering from sickness and I got Returnal on the brain.
Yeah, really.
But thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this week. Remember that you can check out our episodes every Wednesday on podcast services everywhere, youtube.com/multiplayer. And also on Patreon, patreon.com/multiplayer, where you can support us if you like what we do. Throw us a buck or two, and you can watch the show or listen to the show through Patreon, or just like click on links and go elsewhere. You can also follow us at Go Multiplayer over on Instagram, and you can find me personally at ZachMatzGanis. That's ZachMatzGanis. Hav, where can we find you?
You can also find me on Instagram at Loverboy_Hav. And it looks like Walmart used to own Vudu, and then they sold it to Fandango.
Fandango sell thing?
Yeah, it's so weird. I kind of want to read more about this. This is just like a quick Google result.
Yeah.
But like Vudu it was like an association with Walmart or something. It's really weird. Like It seems kind of interesting. I kind of want to read more about this.
I guess report back next week.
Yeah,
with your findings.
I will. I will definitely report back because I remember a while ago, like I remember signing up for Voodoo and I like had to go through Walmart or something. It was really weird.
Weird.
It was really weird, but I'll report back on that news.
All right. I look forward to hearing about it 1 week from today.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this week. As always, we appreciate you, and we
love you, and you should love you too.
We love you so much, baby. Come back next week.
Babies.
And, babies. Whole herd of you babies. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Bye, guys.
We here at Multiplayer would like to give a huge special thank you to Kevin Hopkins, William Euchre, and the rest of our amazing Patreon community. If you'd like to support our podcast and get a shout out at the end of each show, be sure to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/multiplayer. See you next time, players. We love ya!